Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Limits Movie Podcast. Today, I am not going to be joined by Hunter from last time. I am joined by my good pal Henry.
Hey guys, I'm Henry, and I'm here to talk about Infinity War.
Yeah, very different movie from the last few times, but hopefully this still ends up working pretty well. So first up, what is your history with Avengers Infinity War, or I guess more specifically, since we're going to be doing this, the MCU as a whole?
Yeah, so me and my brother, we've watched every movie, like at least 2 times, because we were just obsessed with, being superheroes and stuff when we were little. We've even played all the Lego Marvel superheroes games. I know many other people have also done that as well. It was so much fun. It was just our favorite universe ever.
Okay. See, I actually have a very interesting response here because I first watched these movies in 2018,
Mm-hmm.
and the order I watched them in kind of sucked then because I went from Avengers 1 to Age of Ultron, then I think the two Guardians of the Galaxy
Oh my
movies,
gosh.
and then Infinity War.
It's
Because it's Infinity War is like a giant conclusion to, or the start of a part one of two conclusion to that giant universe. I had no clue what was going on because I only saw like four of them beforehand.
It's funny when you watch it's funny when you watch like Endgame or Infinity War, like the one we're talking about today, and you just see Peter Parker with like,
Yeah,
with,
okay.
the super
Like they go to
suit.
like Wakanda, and I'm like, what is going on here? Who are you people?
Yeah, you need to
Because
watch
I didn't see Black Panther beforehand or anything
something
like
like
that.
Civil War. You don't.
Oh my god,
Civil War is very long. It was tough for me to watch. It was like lots of.
Captain America: Civil War, Thor: Ragnarok. Those both also really go into Infinity War. So I was like, why are Thor and Hulk up here at the beginning? What's going on here?
Yeah, it's very confusing. Some of them you have to watch, some of them you don't in order. Some of them, just one off specials.
Yeah. So what is your general thoughts on Avengers: Infinity War as a whole?
I think it was the first movie I watched that had like an ending that wasn't happy, wasn't a good ending to tie together. Um, so this is a kind of a spoiler alert, but in the end, when Thanos, snaps all 6 Infinity Stones, the whole screen goes white, and half of everything that lives dies. And yeah, that was just crazy to see, and especially at his porch at the end of the entire movie, like the end credits. He was just sitting down, just like, oh my gosh, I've finally done this. And it's like it hints at another. We were like, there must be another movie, but it was kind of surprising because like, whoa, I have never felt this bad about a movie before, and all the characters that are dying, especially Vision when he got his Mind Stone destroyed. That was actually crazy to
He
see.
already died, and then Thanos is like, nah, I want you to die again.
He was just like time stone and just reverses everything, and then he just just pulls it out and just destroys it.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say this. I'm definitely not gonna be as positive on the movie as you
Yeah.
because I have some things I'll get to as the podcast goes on. I do have some issues with this movie, especially on this latest rewatch. I do think, however, that one thing that is super interesting about it is that the main character of it, at least from my interpretation of it, is the villain, Thanos. That's like the guy who you're actually following for most of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's very interesting. Most Marvel movies do not do that. You're obviously because they're Iron Man, like Captain America, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Thanos is like the big part of this movie. He has the best scene in the movie, in my opinion, which is on the cliff when he chucks Gamora down.
Yeah, that was really sad. And oh my gosh, I have some things to say about Peter Quill, but one thing's for sure. I was gonna say how it's kind of cool how they hint at Thanos being the main villain throughout all of most of the movies, until the Avengers fought off the the army that Thanos leads in New York, and that was like, it was just so cool how they hinted at him, and especially at the end of the movie when they he was like, I'll do it myself, and that was when they hinted at Infinity War. That's when he came in. But yeah. One thing I must say is Peter Quill. He was basically the guy that killed half all people in the universe. That's like one problem. He got like pissed off at Thanos, and then he just decided like to punch him in the face, and he got the gauntlet back, and then he disappeared, and everybody died because half of all people died because he was too angry and couldn't control his emotions.
Yeah, here's one thing that really bothered me on this rewatch was, and it's the big like part of the movie, and I get what they're going for here because they have to set up Endgame and everything, but they have Doctor Strange say there is only one outcome where the universe survives, and I think that's just like, really though? Are you saying there's not a universe where you're like, okay, Peter Quill, calm down, and you stop him somehow? You have those like portal things. Can't you like get him out of there before he starts attacking Thanos?
Like, dude, they could have created a portal, and then you just couldn't punch him, and like
there are so many universes I can think of. They could have like, and they could somehow, I don't know, Doctor Strange goes to Earth, he makes Thor trip on a rock or something, and instead Thor ends up hitting Thanos in the head instead of the famous you should have aimed for the head scene.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of funny how they
I did notice that on this rewatch. I got some more issues with it here if you want me to get out the thing with it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's it's so funny. I mean, especially considering that they have so many abilities and ways they could have stopped Peter Quill. And he wasn't even the main protagonist. He was the one that they needed to stop.
If Thanos was held down for one more second, Spider-Man would have like taken the gauntlet off.
Yeah, Iron Man and Spider-Man were both tugging at it. We almost have this off. And then just snapped back in place and just threw everybody off. And that was so annoying to see. Like, bro, how do you fail?
But yeah, I think that this movie is very fun too. It's pretty well paced, I think.
Yeah.
But something that's kind of bothered me, and this is not as big a deal here as it is in a bunch of other MCU movies. The big one I can think of is like Thor: Love and Thunder is the worst at this out of all of them I can think of. But yeah, it's a little bit like you have these end of world threat, Thanos and everything, and yet you have someone like Peter Quill who calls him Grimace at one point. They're making all these jokes at the end of world threats.
I'm like, it's always the Guardians of the Galaxy that have to make the jokes.
No,
about this
it's not just them. It's like everyone.
Well, yeah, mostly.
Iron Man calls the one guy Squidward at one point.
Yeah. Okay. Well, he didn't really understand the implications yet because he didn't know Thanos was gonna be like, "I'm gonna destroy half the universe," But yeah, they're just cracking jokes.
And it's just. I think there are moments, and I think that's why as the movie goes on, I think it's better because like when you have that last scene where like everyone's disappearing, they're taking it seriously at least. So at least by that point, they are like being a little more serious about this. Like, okay, the world's ending. This isn't good.
But it's kind of funny. I wasn't that worried about after that because usually they wouldn't just leave it like that because all the other people watching would be like, no, that can't be it. They have to make another movie and it has to be good. So. But, except in Endgame, I know we're not talking about Endgame, but,
we can go into a little bit about it, and I might make, if you want to, I can make another episode about Endgame with you sometime.
Oh, yeah. Spoiler, of course. At the end, when Iron Man uses all the Infinity Stones to defeat Thanos, he dies, and that's like, they still close it out with something bad that happened, just like Infinity War, so it sat well with both movies.
Yeah, and most MCU movies, they have this issue with the third act for me. I think that the stakes are weirdly most MCU movies, the last like 45 minutes to an hour, it's just a battle. The battles are not interesting to me. I never liked fight scenes in movies in general, and I don't care about the MCU ones because it's not like there's any interesting stunts or anything. It's just two people punching each other in front of a green screen for the most part. Yeah,
it's kind of funny. They just have the entire background. That one, like the little fight that's going on. That's all they have.
And it's so boring.
I mean, they act like the battles are so exciting and stuff. There's so much stuff happening. But I'm just like trying to focus on one fight or something interesting that's happening, and I can't because they keep switching it around.
Yeah, like a big issue. Like I like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies for the most part, but I do not like the last third of the first one because I don't care about anything that's happening by that point because nothing interesting is happening in that battle.
They could have focused on Thanos, like the fight against Thanos, and the other like characters that were like his assistants. Forgot their names. But they yeah, again, they could have focused on the main problem, which was the gauntlet the entire time, instead of showing all the other characters fighting these enemies. And it's just just leading me away from the main top point, which is if he gets this gauntlet, you're all dead.
And because of Infinity War, it's trying to be this epic conclusion to the MCU
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. It's trying to have a giant end world threat that is less impactful because almost every MCU movie, at least like Spider-Man: Homecoming, not really, has an end of world threat. It's not new. It happens every time.
What if it's like more personal implications, like somebody close to the Avengers, or like somebody Iron Man really close, like maybe even Peter Parker could die forever, and like that would be so much more serious to us because it's almost weird how if we don't see all the other people that are dying everywhere, then we almost don't care as much, even though they're all dying. If we see them and we had a long-term attachment to them as characters, then it's so much more impactful than just the entire world dying. If all of them die, then we know that can't be possible because they're going to come back. They have plot armor. And that's important.
There's a few of them that die forever, I know. Like,
Gamora,
in Guardians 3, they do have a like new Gamora, but that's different.
Yeah, she wasn't as
basically
loving.
Anyone who died before the snap is actually dead. So
I must say one thing about the blip or bloop. I don't know what to call it. The blip was like blip. Yeah, it was the blip. 5 years, I'm pretty sure. Everybody was like aged 5 years, so I'm kind of confused. The people that come back, are they gonna be like, where the heck am I gonna go for a job? Like, what do I have? What do I do? I don't have any college experience. I don't have any apartments to live in, and I'm illegally an adult for some people.
They kind of explore that a little bit in Far From Home, where they're like, oh, my older brother is actually younger than me now. How cool.
That was so weird. So I have a brother, and imagine I just walk back and he's like, has a freaking beard and mustache. Like, dude, it's just so funny.
My theory is that there actually were, and I came up with this just now, there actually were more possibilities. Doctor Strange was just too tired and he wanted a very long nap.
Yeah. I don't know how he went through all those possibilities.
Well, that I don't mind that much because
it wasn't.
You time stone's already not like a realistic thing, so who knows? Maybe it's just has to do with that.
The scene where Thanos uses the reality stone when they were in a what was it called? The Nothing?
Nowhere.
Nothing. When they were in Nowhere, he tricked them into thinking that he was like dead, or Gamora, and he just came back. And it's just, it's like he could. I feel like Thanos could have done. I feel like Thanos' idea of killing half of all people is like kind of stupid, because if you think about it, all of them are gonna return. Well, when they did return, it's like it's all back to the same thing. And if he was able to see into the future with the time stone, he would have known that he would lose, wouldn't he? I feel like that would be a good point, because he has a time stone. Can't he just look into the future and just see all the possibilities of his future?
I didn't think about that, but that does make sense, yeah.
Yeah. But, yeah, I feel like overall the acting, the CGI and effects were decent.
They're good for what they are.
I mean, it's because it's Marvel.
Thanos looks really good in the movie.
Yeah, I must say, there's an expectation to these movies. It's Marvel. If it's not like, if it's even lower than that, it's not good. Because
people make fun of Phase 4 all the time with how bad some of the stuff in there looks. Even for Phase 3, Black Panther does not, like the final fight scene in Black Panther looks terrible.
Yeah, that was not.
Here it looks fine. So I have nothing really to complain about there. I think. Yeah, it's just
Iron Man. I mean, okay, I must say, with Endgame, when Iron Man died, it's like, we heard his mallet. Unless you haven't heard that part, where he has this, you hear him hammering the armor that he did in the cave in that when the Ten Rings had captured him in the first Iron Man movie. It goes all the way back to that, and that's hinting at something. Or maybe that was Infinity War. I'm not sure, but
I think I haven't seen Endgame in a few years, so
yeah.
I just watched Infinity War last night and this morning for this. I haven't seen Endgame anytime recently, so
yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
So yeah, I think. Do you have any thing you know about like the production of this movie that you can say?
Well, I must say that there was like new motion capture technology being used. I'm not sure what it was. It was like using some type of camera with, I don't know. I mean, it was like, what was it called? I forgot, but it was using some different camera technology. And I also know that the acting was actually not that stressful it was actually pretty stressful for a lot of the actors. Because they were like also making other movies. I'm pretty sure at the same time.
That's very normal Hollywood thing from what it
Yeah,
sounds like. But
that's again.
it also I wonder how, because I always wonder this. Is it like it's probably a lot harder to act when you're dealing with, I don't know how they used Thanos. Did they actually have Josh Brolin there? They probably did.
Yeah, they did.
So that's fine,
yeah.
actually.
He had to like wear this suit with like those white balls on them, and then they had to have like a Thanos head like above him. It was like, oh man, some of that was annoying for him. I'm pretty sure.
But yeah, this is definitely compared to most of the newer MCU movies that are just not good. This one is definitely okay in my opinion. It's not my favorite one. My personal favorite MCU movie is still Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. But yeah. this would probably make my top 5 still.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like these sequels, if they don't do well, then it kind of just ruins the rest of it. So
I want you to give this movie a score to end this off 1 out of 10, 1 through 10, out of 10.
Of course. I would say 8 out of 10. You know, the 2 points that I subtracted is probably because of the some of the acting, some of the plot, especially near the end as well.
I do have a lot of issues with this movie, and kind of like the MCU in general. I also just don't think it's the MCU movies tend to be a little bit shallow, in which they're kind of hard to go back to for me because they don't have anything interesting under the surface, if it makes sense. They're kind of just fun one-time movies, and they don't really work as well for just watching at home like when I watched Infinity War recently. So you might think this is a bit low, but I'm actually going 5 out of 10 on this one. I already picked this out, but
that's fine. It can be mid for some people. For me, it wasn't too bad. But yeah.
Thank you for being on here.
Of course.
Maybe some other time for Endgame if you want, but for now, new guests again next week. So see you guys then. Goodbye.